as they put the pads on for the first time today, we really start to get into true 11-on-11 drills, because now we actually get a pass rush on quarterbacks, right? We actually can see what the defense is going to do in a true 11-on-11 situation. We can actually see how the offense adapts. Now, at this point in the season, early on, base defenses are so much easier to install than offenses, right? Because offenses, you got to worry about cadence, motions, different formations. A base defense and base coverage is a lot easier to install. So defenses generally are going to be a little bit more ahead of the offense generally at this time of the season. Usually, especially when you have a whole new coaching staff that comes in. Ugh. Yes, thank goodness on that. But when your coaching staff, for the most part, in terms of head coach, coordinators, is all different, well, guess what? Sometimes the defense is a lot easier to install. As someone, I played football in college my freshman year, decided to play lacrosse for 4, but it was easy. It was just, here's our base front, here's your alignment, your assignment, and go pursue the football. Mm-hmm. That's it. Alignment, assignment, go pursue the football. That's it. Okay, if there's a pass situation, this is your coverage, this is your zone that you're in. Well, for a man-to-man, this is who you're guarding. This is your gap. Yeah. That's it. It's a lot easier to install those things. Whereas there's different timing and things like that with offense. So don't be surprised, don't freak out when we see that Bryce Young throws an interception.
Yeah.
It's okay.
It's practice.
It's okay. I'll get into this a little bit later on. Actually, at 12:30, we're going to dive into expectations for Bryce Young and the Carolina Panthers. What will be considered a failure this season? We're going to dive into that at 12:30. But 5 things that I want to see, Victoria.
Yeah.
Now that we have the pads on in practice during training camp. Number 1 thing.
Mm-hmm.
Stay healthy.
Please.
Just stay healthy.
Please. If the Canes teach you anything from last season, just stay healthy.
Just stay healthy. Now, there's a couple of particular groups and individuals I'm looking at. Looking at you, J.C. Horn. Please stay healthy. J.C. Horn is so freaking good.
Yeah.
If that dude plays a full season, people are going to be talking about him as one of the best cover corners in the entire NFL. He's that good. But he's just got to stay healthy. Yeah, kind of like the freak injury with the forearm, like the hit by Jeremy Chinn last season that knocked him out the last few games. But yeah, a little bit of an ankle and foot injury during the offseason as well. Hopefully he's all good to go. Mm-hmm. I want that guy healthy. Jackson, coming off of the torn Achilles from last season. That's not an easy injury to recover from.
No, you got to be careful.
It's just not an easy injury to recover from, even though you do fully heal up, because with a torn Achilles, just your gait of how you walk, all that stuff is altered. So for a position that requires speed, things can get a little bit dicey. But also on the offensive line, Austin Corbett is recovering from the torn ACL that he suffered in the last game of the season against the New Orleans Saints. Okay? He's starting right guard. Also, Chandler Zavala, their 4th-round pick out of NC State this past season, on the physically unable to perform list because of a pectoral injury. So a guy that they drafted with anticipation, like, hey, this guy could start for us. Now, they brought all 5 starting offensive linemen, including Austin Corbett, back. So Ike Ekwonu, Brady Christensen, Bradley Bozeman, Taylor Moton, Austin Corbett, all 5 of those guys coming back, which I think is
exciting.
Great.
Yes.
I actually really do like their offensive line.
Yes.
But when you have one of your starters is recovering from an injury, you're not training, you're recovering. There's a difference between the two. And one of the guys you drafted as part of that depth is hurt. Oh, okay, Cade Mays, 6th-round pick last year out of Tennessee. Let's see how you developed. And this is sometimes where, okay, you get the injuries just kind of start to pile up. Then before you know, you're like, oh, actually, we got some holes on the offensive line.
Yeah, it's bad.
It would not surprise me if at some point we do see like a depth receiver get traded for a depth offensive lineman. Something along those lines. It would not surprise me if we saw that. But nonetheless, offensive line health is paramount, especially with the rookie quarterback in Bryce Young.
Oh, yeah.
So those are things I'm looking to see. 1, stay healthy. Number 2, let's see how Bryce Young, we'll dive more deeper into Bryce Young in a little bit. But 2, let's see how Bryce Young continues to build his chemistry with the receiving core. So as of right now, what we've seen Adam Thielen, DJ Chark as the 2 starting receivers. Seen a lot of Laviska Shenault working in there. It's kind of like a gadget player, Victoria.
Yeah.
Which I'm okay with. If you can make that piece work in terms of, okay, if we can get Shenault, whether it's a carry out of the backfield, a jet sweep, or different ways that you get him the ball, if you can get him to space, okay, that's fine. And also, if he can be multiple in terms of where he can line up and how he's effective and how he's used, and he is effective in those ways, Victoria, I like the idea of just when he's on the field, teams have to really pay attention to where he is.
Yeah, if he's unconventional, then you don't really know what to plan for. So
exactly.
It trips people up.
Exactly. It makes things a lot harder for defensive coordinators when it comes to game planning. But so I want to see Bryce Young continue to develop, not only with his receiving core in terms of the perimeter, but what about Hayden Hurst? How does Tommy Tremble develop now in year 3? So there's a lot of different things I would like to see Bryce Young do now that you actually have 11-on-11 drills. You actually get a pass rush in your face. Now, by accounts I was seeing this morning, that Bryce Young threw an interception again. This time it was like a diving interception by Frankie Louvu. Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. You throw those interceptions during practice. Get them out now and it doesn't count.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. Again, we'll dive more into that at 12:30. But third thing I'm looking forward to, how does the playbook offensively evolve early in training camp? Now, when you get the pads on and you go full speed, you may realize some things that you thought would work might not. And that's okay. You're trying to figure this stuff out. But also, vice versa. You might realize, we're actually able to do more of this. This is actually going to be working better than we anticipated. I actually thinking back to my time when I was coaching college lacrosse. And we would try and do installs, different things on offense that we wanted to run. And we started to realize, like, wait a second. Some of the ideas and the concepts we wanted to use weren't exactly the way we thought.
Yeah.
But we were able to kind of deviate slightly off them because you start to figure out what everyone is capable of doing. Again, you got a lot of new pieces on this team last year. Yeah, the 5 starting offensive linemen are back. But all my receivers are basically new, at least my starting receivers. I know Shi Smith, Terrace Marshall Jr., but, I mean, I got Mingo. I know Chenault's back, but I got Jonathan Mingo just drafted. I got Shark and Thielen that you brought in as starters. Hayden Hurst as a tight end, new in there as well. New running back with Miles Sanders. But also you have a new coaching staff, right?
Yeah, so you got to figure out what works.
Yeah, you have to figure out what works. And also it's an opportunity for the coaches as well to figure out what also works for them in terms of Frank Reich is bringing different stuff that he ran with Indianapolis and with Philadelphia. Thomas Brown's coming under the Sean McVay coaching tree from out in with the Rams out in Vegas. Almost said St. Louis. But nonetheless, they're bringing different philosophies and different viewpoints. Okay, how does this all mesh and blend together, right? Because everyone's bringing in a little bit different, which I think is good. It's hard to truly predict what their offense is going to look like this season. We don't fully know. We haven't seen them play against someone else. But I also think they don't really know. They have an idea of what they want, what they're capable of doing, but until you actually play somebody else, you just don't really know.
And I kind of like that we don't know what we're doing because it feels refreshing. Obviously, it wasn't working last year, so let's change it up and make something else work.
And last year we saw the running game after Matt Rule got let go. We saw the running game really take off last season. Didn't have much in terms of the passing game. Thank you, Sam Darnold. Thank you, Baker Mayfield, for your time. But the running game we saw was great last season. But again, different people. Different running backs, different coaching staff, totally different mindset.
Different year.
It's totally different season. So again, we just don't quite fully know.
Nope.
Like, okay, we can look at what McVay did in St. Louis, so we can see, okay, that's what Brown's going to bring in. But we can see what Reich did in Indianapolis or in Philadelphia. But again, even they've evolved and have changed. You have to adapt to your personnel. And it's no one truly knows, but that's okay. All right, so fourth thing here of things I'm looking forward to training camp-wise. Now that we have the pads on. The pads popping.
Let's go.
Gotta love it. How does new defensive coordinator Ejiro Evero use Jeremy Chinn?
It'll be very interesting.
I think this is a big year for Jeremy Chinn.
I hope so.
I think so. I think it's not only just a big year for him, but I also think it's an important year for him as well, in the sense that we saw a lot of that playmaking ability his rookie season in 2020. There's a lot of it around the line of scrimmage. We didn't quite see it as much in the last couple of seasons. And I think that's a byproduct of how he was used. Because we saw him dropping deep into coverage as a safety a lot last season. Where we saw him make a lot of his plays was near the line of scrimmage, in the box, right? Kind of sometimes even playing as an off-ball linebacker to an extent. So I'm curious to see what Evero does with Chinn, especially now that we have 11 on 11. Okay, you brought in Von Bell, which I think was a really, really good signing.
Yes,
bringing in Von Bell from the Bengals is where he was last. Remember correctly.
A lot of potential there.
Yeah, so bringing in Von Bell, also keeping Xavier Woods. So okay, where does Jeremy Chinn line up? Do you line him up a little bit at nickel corner? Do you line him up in these sub packages? Because yes, they run a base 3-4 now under Evero, but the NFL, the way they spread things out so much, you're in sub packages all the time, right? So are you going to move him up closer to the line of scrimmage in these sub packages, right? When teams go 3 wide, maybe even 4 wide.
Yeah.
So how are you going to use him? Are you going to use him a lot around the line of scrimmage? Are you going to blitz him more often? I don't know. I'm intrigued to see because, again, you have the depth there at safety with Woods, with Von Bell. So Jeremy Chinn can be used in a lot of different ways. As someone who grew up watching the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah.
To me, I remember Troy Polamalu was just all around, all over the place.
Oh, yes. Everywhere.
And there's actually times and situations where Dick LeBeau, the defensive coordinator, was like, all right, Troy, you just kind of roam around and do your thing. We're going to cover I know, it's like, seriously, like, we'll have everything else covered. You roam around and do your thing.
Yep.
Like, just be instinctual and play. Like, if you want to rush, if you want to drop in coverage or jump a route, whatever you want to do, I'd be okay if Jeremy Chinn did that.
Oh, I'm totally
I'm not saying Jeremy Chinn is Troy Polamalu. I'm not saying that.
He
Troy Polamalu is
obviously doesn't have the hair either.
Exactly.
That Troy
That's
did.
a big thing.
Yes.
He's like Samson. That's where all of his power came from. But I would like to see them use Jeremy Chinn in multiple ways. Like we kind of talked about Laviska Shenault a moment ago about always like, okay, if he's on the field, like, okay, what's he going to be doing here? Like, is he running out in pass routes? Is he going to get a carry? Same thing with Jeremy Chinn. When he's out there, it's like, okay, what's that guy doing?
Yeah.
Like, what is he going to drop in coverage? Where is he going to drop in coverage? Is he going to blitz?
On that one.
You really have to pay attention to what he is. So I'm really curious to see what Evero, the new defensive coordinator, what he does with Jeremy Chinn and how he uses him. Yeah. The final thing is, fifth thing I'm looking forward to.
Is this the most important thing that you're looking forward to?
I wouldn't say most. These are just 5 things.
Okay.
Just 5 things. Who's going to be the one that takes ownership of that opposite outside linebacker edge rusher spot opposite of Brian Burns? Who's going to take ownership of that? DJ Johnson, 3rd-round pick out of Oregon that the Panthers traded up to get that pick.
Right.
Who's also like really old for a guy that got drafted. Okay, how do you develop DJ Johnson? Are you able to take ownership of that in true passing situations? When it's 3rd and 8, can we plug you in there and know that you're going to get pressure on the quarterback? Amari Barno, 6th-round pick last year out of Virginia Tech. All right, year 2 for you. How do you evolve into this role? Yetur Gross-Matos, 2nd-round pick in 2020 out of Penn State. Where are you? I want to see how you now, again, you're probably going to be standing up a little bit more often in your base 3-4 as an outside linebacker as opposed to a defensive end. Okay, how do you handle the position change? Because it's different. It just is. You're going to be asked to do a lot of different stuff. How do you evolve? Who takes ownership opposite? Is it Haynes? Marquise Haynes? Who develops opposite of Brian Burns? Because now if it's a rotating cast of people that are effective in different ways, then fine. If you got to do it on the aggregate, okay. But I would like to see someone really take ownership opposite of that. And there could be situations where, you know what? It's 3rd and 15, and the other team spreads things wide. Well, Frankie Louvu, move him out there on the edge. You could drop Jeremy Chinn down to the inside linebacker next to Shaq Thompson in those sub packages.
Yeah.
I'd be okay with.
I'd like to see them do trickier things.
Yeah,
the Panthers have not been a team that will do tricky things. Like, you don't see them do the ring around the rosy thing like the Chiefs and Mahomes, but I feel like in a 3rd and 15, spot.
Yeah.
They may just try to play it safe, and sometimes you can't play it safe.
Yeah, and I would like to see this defense evolve as the season goes. I think they have a lot of really good pieces. I think there's some questions in terms of depth at linebacker once you get past Shaq Thompson and Frankie Louvu in terms of the interior. And again, who's opposite of Brian Burns? Listed a bunch of names. We know these names, but again, effectiveness is what matters. And then obviously, corner.
Yeah.
Jackson,
Please.
Horn, please stay healthy. This team needs it.
Oh, bad.